Alright, welcome back to Full House 7th edition, where we are playing Vanheim. It is turn 26. There's probably going to be a giant bull in our face. Oh, no, there's not. So Kaelasa, only interested in vulturing possibly at the moment, wants to see how this conflict turns out, perhaps. Also, while we did miss 2 site searches, we found 3 magic sites. I think this is where our army hung out, so that kind of works out. And yeah, I'm not super familiar with these, but surely one of these is going to allow for an independent mage recruitment, some interesting names, not like more common sites, it seems like. Of course, the downside is that this is in Pangaea's Cav Circle, but we're planning on killing Pangaea anyway, right? This is where pretty much all of our forces are stationed, so at least in the short term, we will be able to hold on to it. We witness a battle between Archocephaly and Calum. This is probably, raid in force, so Archocephaly does not want to split out their Windrider group. In fact, they even brought along some infantry. And I can understand not wanting to split at this point. I mean, this is it. If they lose this force, then they lose the war, and they're up against a standard amount of province defense. The Windriders will have no problem with that. Still some leadership issues from the look of it. Yeah, only the one Windlord leading this. You would think that from that other battle, like Archocephaly, would have learned their lesson. Obviously, they only have their capital, right? They don't have the opportunity to recruit very much leadership, so it may just be a question of like not having the units available. But considering they sent their infantry as well, this force can't fly, and we know they have at least a few mages who, do, at least during the battle, will provide leadership in case that Windlord dies. So, yeah, I would have liked to see at least one other leader. Hopefully they will recruit, more Windlords in the turn to come, and, that'll get a little dangerous. Also, I somehow skipped over our own battle against the Independents, maybe because I'm worried about this. It's a good amount of barbarians, and we're probably going to lose some ogres, and maybe some Vanherses, which is not great. Yeah, we have a little bit of lightning, which we're hoping is going to cause a rout. Yeah, we definitely lost some ogres. Don't think we lost any Sigrids. Maybe should have only sent in the Vanherses. They are super tough and super killy, yeah, I don't know. We only lost 2 ogres. Probably worth risking the ogres, because, even Vanherses can get surrounded and overwhelmed by barbarians. Maybe not if you have a true Barkskin Bless, but we have a little less protection than normal for that. Looks like Ermor is patrolling their capital, or we just got an unlucky roll with... no, this looks like more... Yeah, well, there's definitely no... These are Equite of the Sacred Shroud. Ooh, you even get to see their bless. So it looks like things are not going super well for Ermor, considering they're patrolling their capital with some of their sacreds, or maybe this is just a squad that they recruited and haven't needed to send out. And hey, it's a rainbow bless. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with this per se. The only thing I'll say is there's no fire resistance, which, considering how much fire stuff early age Ermor does, you're going to be getting some friendly fire probably. But still, like attack, defense skill, the Equite are going to like that. Undying, not a bad thing. A little bit of undead leadership is not crazy for early age Ermor. They do summon undead, and there's a variety of undead things that they can do. Strength +4 is pretty nice, and the Dark Vision +50 is nice, especially since Solar Eclipse is something that early age Ermor can cast without too much difficulty. And then, poison resistance, always relevant. Shock resistance, always nice. Also missing cold resistance in the early age with Niflheim. I've done that before, and, it really just depends on, are you going to border Niflheim or not? But still, and of course magic weapons, which is, kind of I don't know, maybe you can rely on the your mages for your magic damage, but having magic weapons on the Equite help a lot. So yeah, I think a decent Equite bless, certainly a good amount of investment. But like I said, it's quite possible that they're on the back foot, because that's a decent amount of stuff that's patrolling. But then again, maybe they're not fighting and they have the luxury of just having some guys hang out at home. And then let's see, we managed to nab an Agarthan scout from our main force that chose to hang out and patrol. That makes sense. Agarth is just going to want to keep an eye on what we're up to, and that's where our main army is. And then we also managed to patrol out, oh god, Apparently there were just some werewolves hiding in this province. Man, these thrones, these indie events, and we lose a ton of soulless. We take a quick look, but I mean, that's because we had the soulless out in front. We wanted them to eat lances from the centaurs in case Pangea, decided to come out. So, I mean, that's just, sometimes there's a bunch of werewolves hiding in the province. That's how that goes. But that is unfortunate. That cuts into our chaff that we're hoping to use for the major battle that's going to be upcoming. And, again, maybe should have just attacked, because if anything, now our forces are just going down. On the other hand, you can't predict everything. And I'll catch you guys after the jump. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. We are finally moving out, although maybe a bad idea. There are a ton of air gems coming out of this province. This province is pretty insane, and we can recruit an air mage out of it, which isn't super relevant for us, but it's actually not a bad air mage. Being able to obfuscate units is actually kind of useful for us. It's only 10. I think these are size points. Either way, it's not a lot of units, but, we build up a couple mages like this, and then we can hide, say some of our ogres, right? Some of our siege strength, which is kind of useful. I don't really know if it's, useful enough. They're not expensive mages, so, we might try to recruit some of these guys. We'll definitely want a fort here, obviously, since just for the gem income alone. But we're probably not going to hold it in the short term. We'll see, because I don't want to just sit around and do nothing. I do want to, try to pressure Pangea a little bit. So we're going to raid down here, but then we'll probably backtrack. We're still going to aim at the capital, but we're going to wait for some of our reinforcements, right? So we have more Vanheers coming up, and then we have some more Vanheers, sneaking through. So once we can get both of those into position to join in an attack on the capital, we'll probably try to do that. And then hopefully this move down here will also, start to draw Pangea out. They've been fairly passive, probably trying to hit, some research goals or something like that. They seem like a competent player, so I don't think they've just given up and, are sitting in their forts. I think they're planning something dastardly for us. But hopefully, by moving down here, it's been a couple turns. They will want to raid to try to recapture more of their cap circle, although they're not super resource dependent, so they don't need to. But, if they move out, then it's going to be easier for us to jump onto their capital. But, of course, as long as we're next to their capital, there's a pretty good chance that they won't move out. But, that's also okay, because we're going to get a lot of air gems. We'll also be able to move up some of our Vanherses, who are busy, let's see. Right, we only have the one Vanhers here. He's also going to, search for some air gems. Probably unlikely, since there's already a bunch of sites here, but, there's already a fort here, and gems under forts are worth a lot, and, we need air gems. So we're going to make that search. We're also building a temple here, which means we're super broke. We're always broke, but, just a Vanhers here, sadly, and then we're finishing off our dwarf, and we're at least getting, full Vanheers, so that is good. But yeah, basically just hoping to draw Pangea out a little bit, and if we can't, then we're just going to hit them with, all of our Vanherses and hopefully full-sized air elementals. We'll see. I think the Vanheers are going to arrive maybe just before we hit Conjuration 5, so we may wait one more turn for Conjuration 5 to get full-sized air elementals, because I do think that will help a lot in terms of just dealing with the chaff. The White Centaur, I don't think it's going to help a ton, but we are going to have a lot of Meniads to cut through, as well as other random stuff. Of course, all of this is assuming that Kael'thasa plays ball and doesn't attack us. We do see this large force of Bandar archers on the move. If this moves onto our border, we will probably rejigger our research. We are planning on heading up Evocation anyway, but we'll probably push Evocation 3 ahead of it, specifically for Mist. We would prefer to have Storm, right? This just messes with missile fire, but, in a lot of ways, I actually thought it was better than this. Having the precision, precision is not great for archers or in general in Dominions. So usually you want to go for, just massed fire. And that's definitely what Kael'thasa has. So, with this number of archers, is it really going to matter if the precision is halved? It'll help a little bit, but perhaps not as much as I was hoping. But there's definitely no way that we're going to hit Evocation 5 before that army attacks us if it's headed our direction. So we'll see. Maybe we won't change anything, actually, because, yeah, full-sized air elementals will be pretty good against those archers, because, the mundane arrows, they don't do so well against air elementals, and then air elementals fly. So, you send air elementals go where they want to go, but oftentimes they end up in the back line, which means that the archers are busy, shooting at them instead of shooting at your Vanheers. So now that I'm talking through this, we probably won't rejigger our research, but it would be nice if Kael'thasa would wait until we get Storm, because that, in addition to reducing precision, pretty sure it reduces precision. Yeah, it does reduce precision, but there's also a 50% chance that, a projectile is lost. And that definitely is a big deal. So, hopefully we'll hit that. But, of course, our research is not great. We've talked about that. Also related to Kael'thasa possibly attacking us. And I do think that that's in the cards for the future, right? Because our bump, if anything, encouraged them. And we got intel that they were interested in attacking us anyway. So, yeah, I think it's really more a question of when rather than if. So to that end, we're still forging great swords of sharpness, because we are definitely going to need help to take down that pretender. But once we finish these sets of gear, we might do like 1 or 2 more. I mean, we definitely want a couple more great swords. Yeah, we'll have 5 at the end of this round of forging, so that's probably, 6 would be good. So we'll probably forge 1 more great sword, maybe a couple more girdles of might, which will help, although I don't think those are going to be strictly necessary. But anyway, we want to start moving our forging towards gear that is going to help us raid, which the Great Swords of Sharpness, they're not bad for raiding, but they're also not good for raiding. Also, you see, have a mage shortage, right? So we're not making Alquills anymore at the moment, also because we're quite low on air gems, though thank heavens for this province, which, yeah, we really do want to hold on to. Maybe shouldn't have made this move, but, this turn has rolled. But anyway, yeah, we just don't have enough mages to even, hold all the quills that we've made. And, a big part of this is we just, every time that we want to lead a group around stealthily, which, especially because of this war and, because this is Kalim's cap circle, we end up having to sneak through this every time, and we need, one of our mages to lead that, that group of reinforcements. So we're really chewing up a ton of research, just like moving our Vanheers around, and then, of course, the Vanheers move really, really slowly, so it takes them a long time to get there, which is more turns that, our researchers are not doing. They're researching. So, anyway, all this to say that there are problems with Vanheim, but hopefully in like 3 or 4 turns, I would say, we're going to try to jump on top of Pangaea. That's a lot more White Centaur that we have to face, but again, our Sacreds have been stacking up decently well. If we get attacked by Bandar in the meantime, I don't know, we'll see. We might just have to give ground. I really do want to shut off the White Centaur production. Usually if you're in a 2v1, it's better, I think, to concentrate on knocking out one of your opponents rather than trying to fight them equally. But we'll see. We might try to at least turn around one of Bandar's large armies. But yeah, I think this is definitely coming for us. The other possibilities is that they're going to go after Pangaea, but like I said, I think they're already working with Pangaea, and then the fact that they're building all these archers, right? That archers are, they're not great, but they're better against elves because it, brings down the glamour, and then of course, nobody wants to go into melee against Vanherses, and these Bandar with their higher strength and the longbows actually deal enough damage to be like a pretty significant threat for us. Unlike a lot of archers in the early age that just have short bows, which the Vanheers can kind of shrug off. But this number of light Bandar archers, we can't really shrug that off. We're gonna need other things. I think we can beat it, but yeah, I do think that this is being recruited specifically to come after us. So probably in 2 turns we're gonna be getting attacked by Kael'thasa. I think I called him Bandar. But in this age, they are Kael'thasa. Otherwise, Archocephaly, is loose, kind of. Their capital's been locked down again, but not cracked. So, we hope that they continue to give Kalim problems, because we're busy having problems. And then, for whatever reason, has decided to basically give this fort up, the siege that is. They just have a scout holding it down, so there's a good chance Fomoriya is going to try to break out, and I'm assuming something went wrong somewhere else, so we're going to try to search for that, just because we're interested in it. Otherwise, we can see Saramesha has reinforced the siege of Abyssia that Tianqi took. So we're going to keep an eye on that, because that is both interesting and semi-relevant to us, because these are, neighbors of neighbors that we might eventually want to try to draw into our wars, but, as long as they're doing this, they're probably going to be busy. We also see an Ermorian flag pop up here. Not sure if this was always here, but this does seem to indicate that, obviously they were involved in the war with Abyssia and maybe are planning on jumping into this whole situation. And then, of course, we have seen, speaking of neighbors, so we know that there's Niflheim down here that, has at least a small border with Kael'thasa. In fact, this was their scout that was patrolled out, so, they at least have some interest, although this is a throne province, so they could just be interested in the throne. Also, a fellow elf down here, so, these are both people that we might want to reach out to shortly, and that might be another reason to take a second before attacking Pangaea and try to deliver a nasty loss to Kael'thasa, right? Because if we have a screenshot of something like that where it's like, hey, look at all this stuff that Kael'thasa lost, then that's, a much better way to draw people into a war with, Kael'thasa. So we're going to continue to try to scout around down here and get a sense of like, well, how big are these borders? Are there any other neighbors? And I think that more or less covers our scouting. Oh yeah, one last thing. This is Xibalba, their capital, and we can see that their cap circle is mostly in Yomi's hands. So I suspect that they're not long for this world. That's not good for us, right? Yomi is. I'm not really sure how powerful they are. We know that this is Ermor, and Ermor is, from what I recall, still had their cap circles. So, I don't think Yomi extends too far to the north, though we haven't really scouted here to the northwest. But, we're not particularly friendly with this player, so I'm sure, again, anytime that we misstep and they get powerful enough, or if they just get powerful enough and we're, busy in a really grindy 2v1, that could be bad for us. So we're going to try to keep an eye on this. We don't really have any more scouts moving up that way. We're super broke, but eventually we will send more scouts up in that direction. Also, Vanheim, you may not know it from watching this playthrough, but they are a blood nation, and we probably should be blood hunting at this point. Vanheim is not a major blood power, because your main blood hunters are really expensive and really useful for other things. So we're never going to do a ton of blood hunting, but once these wars finish in 10 or 20 turns, however long it takes, we'll definitely start blood hunting at that point. We'll probably start blood hunting a little bit before then, just so we can get a few blood slaves to do some forging. So yeah, I think that more or less covers turn 26.